So, I'm constantly amazed by the Chinese Communist Party accusing others of doing exactly what they do. So, for instance, the Chinese Communist Party always says it doesn't interfere in the internal affairs of other countries like, the United States does. But why don't you tell us about this latest FBI indictment?
So, yeah, these are two CCP agents that have been in the United States back and forth for many years, going after Falun Gong and other groups, other dissident groups. They were trying to bribe what they thought was an IRS official to, in their words, topple Falun Gong. What that practically meant is trying to revoke the nonprofit status of one of the Falun Gong started organizations. They list that just as sort of entity one in the indictment, but given where the indictment was, we're pretty sure that's Shenyun. So they were trying to bribe an official to weaponize IRS to go after Shenyun Performing Arts.
All right. Just in case anyone watching has not seen the 10 million billboards plastered around everywhere, what is Shenyun?
So Shenyun Performing Arts is the world's premier classical Chinese dance and music company. Every year they tour the world, showcasing authentic Chinese culture in the form of classical Chinese dance and music. Their existence, their mission to revive authentic traditional Chinese culture is something the CCP doesn't like because it reveals, first of all, that the CCP has been trying to destroy that culture for decades, but it also reveals the idea that the CCP is a fraud in its attempt to be the shepherd of the Chinese nation, the Chinese culture, by showing actually this is what Chinese culture really is. And the CCP has been trying to destroy it for decades. So the CCP does not like Shenyun at all.
So Shenyun on its website says it was founded by Falun Gong members, something like that.
And that's true. I mean, when the persecution happened in China, one of the things you saw was sort of a brain drain. The best and the brightest in the arts and science that happened to be Falun Gong practitioners were leaving China, much like Einstein, his compatriots sort of left Germany in the 30s when things were not looking so good for the Jewish community there. So a lot of Falun Gong came out of China, and among them were some of the elite choreographers, dancers, and really Chinese cultural historians and sort of cultural experts. And they came together in New York, and a few of them formed Shenyun.
And so the idea was that these, I guess, Chinese agents, is that? I don't know if that's the correct way to refer to them, but they were trying to bribe the IRS to remove what you're speculating is Shenyun's tax-exempt status.
Exactly. So they were, and they were very sort of explicit. I mean, it looks like the FBI had access to their actual phone calls and the communications they were going through. So they were very explicit that they are getting money from their handlers back in China, and they have more funds coming. And they want this, what they thought was an IRS official, turns out to be an undercover FBI agent. They wanted this agent to sort of go after this IRS, what they thought was an IRS official, to go after Shenyun in this manner. That's what they were essentially paying him for. And it went on for a few meetings and a few phone calls. They actually did hand over cold hard cash to this guy and promised more. And they're very clear about, I got to go back to my guy in Tianjin. Tianjin is the city in China that I guess was coordinating this operation from the CCP's perspective.
What makes this interesting is these two guys are the first people in history to intentionally want to give the IRS money.
Yeah, with a certain motivation, sure.
Right.
Well, so what is the significance of Tianjin?
So, Tianjin is significant on a couple of reasons. One is it is one of many. It's certainly not the only one, but it's one of many sort of headquarters or coordination facilities for going after Falun Gong overseas. Particularly in the New York area, and some of this stuff we're sort of having to sort of comb through some of the CCP leaked documents and look at some of the speeches given by CCP sort of officials to kind of piece all this stuff together. But Tianjin itself seems to be somewhat of a hub on going after Falun Gong in the New York area. I mean, they have other cities they're responsible for, other countries, Canada, Spain, and so on. But Tianjin seems to be a bit of a concentration for going after Falun Gong in the United States, and particularly in New York. And that's something actually that was cited several times in the indictment that the DOJ brought against these two individuals, that they kept talking about, oh, my man in Tianjin, my handler in Tianjin. So it was very clear that that city was coordinating this operation. And we've seen that with other kind of operations targeting us over the last 24 years.
I mean, it's an incredible story. Like, effectively, the Chinese Communist Party is trying to manipulate the U.S. government to aid in its persecution of Falun Gong in the United States.
Yes and no. I mean, it's sort of extraordinary because these guys would have the audacity to try and bribe an IRS official. That seems a little out there. What is completely normal for the CCP is trying to effectively turn American officials against Falun Gong. And this dates back, I mean, this goes back all the way to 1999. I mean, the last APEC meeting where then President Clinton was together with Jiang Zemin, who's the CCP leader that launched this whole persecution. The very first thing they did in their meeting during APEC was Jiang Zemin handed him a big old stack of propaganda trying to justify the persecution of Falun Gong. And, you know, over the last 24 years, CCP officials, their proxies, sometimes thugs, have gone after our mayors, our senators, state legislatures, governors, national security advisor in the case of Condoleezza Rice. So this is very much normal for the CCP, is trying to get U.S. officials to turn against Falun Gong, or at least shut up, not say anything. Don't support the Falun Gong practice. Certainly don't speak out against the persecution. This has been going on constantly.
Do you think that's been effective?
I do. It has been somewhat effective, I'll say, and because I think we see cases across the spectrum. Like, on one end of the spectrum, we have state legislatures. We had a mayor in Santee, California, was just outside of San Diego, who got the requisite letter, as most mayors do, from the nearby consulate saying, don't support Falun Gong, don't speak out on the persecution. And he held a press conference, says, you got to be kidding me. You can't tell me what to do in my country. I'm going to support Falun Gong all the more that you've done this. So you've got that end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, yeah, we see a lot of officials that are oddly quiet. People that would otherwise be vocal on human rights issues, be vocal on China issues, not speak about Falun Gong, be quiet about it, avoid meetings. So unfortunately, we see all kinds of different reactions to this, and a lot of it may depend on how much leverage the CCP has over that particular individual, that city, that state, and what have you.